Okay. So,
Okay. Can I start, or you want to open first?
I think because there is the title, it's very creative that you put it there. So I will not give the opening mark. Yeah, you
Oke.
can just. Mhm.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good evening, everyone. Before I started my presentation tonight, I think it will be better if I introduce myself first, although I know you already know me. My name is Hasana, and you can call me Hana. I am an English teacher at MTSN 1 Jeneponto, South Sulawesi. And as you can see on the screen, I am an astrophile, someone who likes to see the sky, the blue sky, sunset, and then sunrise, anything related to the sky. And here on the right side, I put the map of Sulawesi Island just to give you information about my language background. I spent my childhood. oh, I spent my childhood in a place where I was once a monolingual. It is called Wajo Regency, and then I moved to another place when I was in my fourth grade. In this new place, I was forced to speak Indonesian language in addition to my first language, which is Bugis. I learned Bahasa Indonesia so I can communicate to my friends, also to my teachers. I was struggling at that time actually, but I made it. And in addition to Indonesian and Bugis language, I also learned Tolaki language at school as part of our school curriculum, since it is a Kolaka local language. And then in 2019, I moved to the new place again. It is Jeneponto. I moved here for work, and here people speak other local language, so I also learn Makassar language here, so I can teach my students well. And our topic, and before I started, this is my school condition. It is located in the center of Jeneponto city. People are commonly use Bahasa Makassar and Bahasa Indonesia in public spaces such as schools and offices. I teach 5 regular classes with 33 up to 34 students. And of course, their proficiency in English is variative from low, middle to high. So if you come to my classroom, you will hear some languages like Bahasa Indonesia and also Bahasa Indonesia with Sulawesi touch. I will show you how we use Bahasa Indonesia in Sulawesi later. And then, of course, Makassar language, and then we use English and a little bit of Bugis because I am Bugis people, and also Arabic since my students learn Arabic. Okay, our topic tonight is my reflection on monolingual bias in English language teaching. But before that, it will be better if we learn some key terms related to the topic. The first one we have monolingual, and then we have monolingual bias, and the last one is monolingual bias in the classroom setting. And based on Myers, Cotton, and Yule, monolingual refers to the ability of speaking or using only one language. We have to stress on the phrase only one language if we talk about monolingual. And then we have monolingual bias or MB. It's the viewpoint that people who speak only one language, that is monolinguals, are the norm, and that bilingual and multilinguals are exceptions to that norm. It is based on Barrett view. The practice of monolingual bias can be found in the classroom, so not only in our daily life, but also in a classroom setting. and it can be in the form of the assumption that language teaching can be effective only if the teaching and learning process conducted exclusively in the target language. And honestly, as a teacher, I had this assumption on my head. I think I always thought that my language teaching can be better. I can help my students to master English well. They can speak better if I always use English. And my goal was if only I can use bahasa, if only I can use English all along my lesson from the beginning until the end. It is sad actually. Until I read more about monolingual bias, then I realized that maybe that's not the best way to teach English. So this is the example in Indonesian classroom that can be found. Sometimes teachers refuse to explain grammar concepts in Bahasa Indonesia or maybe use a local language because they feel obligated to maintain an English classroom environment, even we know that our students might have this kind of expression. We know that they are struggling to understand what we are talking, they have to do. We still refuse to explain that. We choose to use English only. So that's the example of monolingual bias in the classroom. And here there are three questions that I'm gonna answer tonight. The first one is, to what extent do English teachers in Indonesia feel pressure to conduct classes exclusively in English, even when students may not understand fully? Well, as a teacher, I do feel pressure to if I am asked to conduct my classes in English fully, because there are some factors actually why us as a teacher feel pressure. The first one, it might the curriculum expectation. Even in our national curriculum, there is no statement that we have to use English in our classroom. But the goal of our national curriculum, it is stated that we have to help our students to master English as a tool of communication. So it's a little bit burden for us as a teachers, I think. And then even if there is no statement on the national curriculum, still there are some school policies that rule that they have their internal rules, their internal policies. They want their teachers to conduct their English class in English exclusively. And the other factors that make teacher feel pressure is the teachers believe, although the curriculum or the school policies does not state that we have to use English, we still have the belief that we have the how do you say it, tanggung jawab,
Responsibility.
I forgot. Yeah, the responsibility as English teacher, we have to help our students as as well as we can to help them to master English. So we have this in mind that I have to use English, I have to use English, I have to expose my student to English as much as I can. But at some time we forgot that they are struggling. They are has different proficiency in English, and we have to facilitate all of them, not only the high performance students, but also there are some students who has low proficiency and also the middle one. But as a teacher, of course, we feel pressure if we have to do that in English. So as an English teacher, we have to choose this way or that way. We have to choose whether to maintain the ideal English only environment or addressing the practical needs of our students. It is a real struggle for us, but maybe we have another way to balance this or to bridge uh, this condition to meet the need of uh, to make our students master the English, but also to facilitate them to learn. The next question is, how does the dominance of Bahasa Indonesia as wait as the language of instruction affect the effectiveness of English language teaching in Indonesian school? Well, as we know, Indonesia as our national language, it's very dominant. It's very dominant in our daily life, including in our classroom. So in English teaching, it has both positive and negative implications. The positive is it can be a bridge. It can be a medium of instruction. It can help us to explain complex, let's say, grammar concepts or maybe some complicated topic. But on the other hand, it also can reduce the English exposure to our students, which means our students will have limited opportunities to practice their English. So again, as a teacher, we have to balance the use of Bahasa Indonesia and English or maybe other languages in our classroom. So to make sure that our students understand or can join the class without pressure, without pressure. And then here is the example that what I do in my classroom. For example, if I'm gonna introduce new sentences, like I said, we use some languages in my classroom. For example, I want to introduce the sentence I eat rice in Indonesia that we commonly know. We say saya makan nasi. But instead of using saya makan nasi, I say bahasa Indonesia in Sulawesi version, makan kak nasi. Makan is like Indonesian language, but this word kak means saya, but we put it in the after the verb, and then we put the noun or the noun at the end. So makan kak nasi, actually if we translate it word by word, it means makan kak saya nasi. But it is commonly used in Sulawesi, especially in South Sulawesi. But here we have another version of Bahasa Indonesia. It's Jeneponto version. Instead of using kak, we use nga to say saya. So we don't say saya makan nasi, but we say makan nga nasi. And the how the dialect is makan nga nasi. That's how we say it. And then this is the Makassar language that used by Jeneponto people. It's the local language. Manreka kanre. Manre means makan. Ka still means saya, and then kanre means nasi. And in Bugis language, it's almost the same like Makassar language. It is manreka nanre. The difference in the word kanre and nanre. And this is at the bottom, this is the first word that captivate me at the first time I teach here, the word chidong. Every time I said sit down to my students, some of them will say chidong. And it turns out chidong means sit down in English. So it's interesting to me because it's a new language. So I learn much from my students. And then the next question is, are there mandatory? I cannot read it. Wait. Are there any, how do I move this? Okay. Are there any policies or regulations in Indonesian schools that mandate the exclusive use of English in English classrooms, potentially reinforcing a monolingual bias? I think there is as I said before, that in our national curriculum there is no explicit mandate requiring the exclusive use of English or other languages in certain schools area. But it's different with private or international schools. As a teacher, I don't have experience in teaching English exclusively, but as a student, I had an experience when I was in pesantren. We used to divide 1 week in three parts. We use 3 days to speak English, and then 3 days for Arabic language, and 1 day for free. So we don't have to speak. There's no rule to speak a certain language, and then we have to pay something like penalty if we were found using English for Arabic days, or maybe we use Arabic for English days. But and also in international schools, I also watched some YouTube videos. Some of them say that they had to speak English to their teachers, and also like Mbak Asisa said in our last meeting, that there are some schools, even their parents try to learn English so they can communicate to their children, or maybe to the teachers. So although there is no explicit mandate in our national curriculum, still there are some schools that has the rules that they want their teachers and their students use English in schools area. And as the conclusion for tonight, monolingual bias present a significant challenge. It's a challenge for us in the context of English language teaching, especially in Indonesia. We have to navigate between the pressure to use only English and the practical realities of our students' proficiency levels. So as a teacher, I think it's our job to find a balanced approach, the best approach that we can incorporate both English and Bahasa Indonesia, or maybe other languages strategically, which will help us to mitigate the limitation of monolingual bias, while also ensuring effective language acquisition of our students. I think that's all. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the reflection in the presentation. You have done it well.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes. Anyway, from Mas Lucky and Miss Regina, can you give one comments or any questions to Miss Hasana's presentation? Maybe starts from oh yeah, Regina, yes, you can say something.
Miss, actually, I don't know why my handphone not really well the voice. So I just randomly listen the presentation, but I didn't get the presentation well because my maybe signal, or I don't know why.
But Miss Regina, what do you know about monolingual bias then? When you read about monolingual.
Oh, so I just read the presentation slide, but I didn't listen the voice very well. I don't know why. Until now, Miss, I don't know my handphone, or until I use my speaker Bluetooth, but still didn't work. But for the from the slide, I can understand that monolingual is like a strategy, a kind of type teaching in the class using one language. That's all.
Oh, okay. So what do you think, Mbak Hasana? Do you consider monolingual bias as a strategy in teaching or what?
I don't know if it is a way of teaching or not, but there is some people, there are some people like I thought that if you want to teach English, if you want to help your students, the best way to do that is by using only English in the classroom. But after I read more about monolingual bias, I think it's not the right way. So if you ask me, is this a strategy? Maybe yes. But if we say is this the best one or not, I'm not sure. If in Indonesia it is applicate in Indonesian context.
Yeah, I agree. Like it is very context based, whether we want to use monolingual or not. Like based on my experience, actually, I'm not a fan of monolingual bias because I know that my students do not speak one language, and I think that Indonesian students, the nature of Indonesian students is not only stick to one language. So that's why I open with other language to be used inside my language classrooms. But sometimes the parents, because I teach in private institutions, the parents want me to speak English only. In that sense, of course, I need to follow what the parents' needs. But before I implement it in my classrooms, I also ask my students whether they want to use English only or Indonesian and English inside my classrooms. Some students prefer monolingual bias. But yeah, back again, it depends on the context where we teach. And from Miss Hassana's teaching context, have you ever encountered your student who want you to speak English only in your classrooms?
Well, they never said it straight to me, but here I coordinate the English club, so I think their goal is they can speak English well. So although they don't say their need to me, I can like I know what they want, so I try to use more English in English club because they come to the classroom with high expectation. So yeah, I think it's different with the classroom context and then in English club. In English club they have high proficiency in English, so it's okay. I think it's okay to use more English.
Oh, okay. I have one last question before I give it to Miss Luki. How about your textbooks? Do you think that the textbook that you use in the classroom has monolingual bias, or there is Indonesian as well, like the subtitle under the instructions?
There's no subtitle in our book. So
Okay.
actually, that is one thing that I want to do if I take my master.
Mm.
I will try to maybe write a book which use bahasa at least two languages. For example, use in English. It's so hard to say English and Jeneponto or maybe Makassar language. I think it will help my students to get the context of the text.
I absolutely agree because in my second semester, I take evaluation in design for teaching materials. And my lecturer, like the course organizer, is from Malaysia. She is a Muslim. She wears hijab. So that's why she guides the students how to evaluate and how to make the textbooks is more personalized or more localized. So even if like we do not use the term like in self-introduction, for example, the example dialogue will be like, where are you from? I'm from New York City. My name is Michelle, for example. This is very, what is it? This is not personalized or this is not localized because even the term like New York, Michelin, this is not personalized with our students' context. And that's what we that's what we learn in evaluation and design. And based on this thing and based on your motivation to take master's degree, how to evaluate and how to design textbooks which is personalized or localized with Jeneponto context or Sulawesi context. Yes, I really hope that you can get your master's here in Edinburgh because you will find like the best
Amin.
a Muslim, Malaysian, and also yeah, woman. And she really supports us to learn about this. Yes, that's only my comment. That's good, but we same interest about textbook evaluation design of materials. Okay, that's very nice. Any other comments, Mbak Asana, before I give the opportunity to Miss Lucky to give her comments?
I think that's enough from me. Let's discuss.
Okay. So, Miss Lucky, do you have any Comments or questions?